I guess it's like what you consider original, because like, all right, here's what my example is. Like Guinness Book of World Records, right? Because like that book is like, all right, fastest time to solve a Rubik's cube. All right, great. Like we have a world record for that. It's like 3 seconds or whatever, right? It's like insanely fast. Then there's like fastest time to solve a Rubik's cube while like balancing a plate on your head and eating a hot dog, like is that original or is that just like adding a nuance just for the sake of like being original, I guess. And that's why I guess that's why I mean about the whole like if somebody is original, are they original? Everybody is technically like original and unique, right? But what they're doing, the idea behind it, like the core idea, it might not be original.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Nuanced Nonsense. We're not experts, we just like talking. This is your co-host Alex.
And this is your other co-host, Ben. I brought on my good friend, Mitchell, and he describes himself as a corporate slave and an enthusiastic lover of life. What's up?
What's up, everybody? I did not say those words exactly. That's Ben paraphrasing.
Wait, that's false. Right before this, I asked him his introduction. He's like, exactly those words.
I did not say corporate slave. Ben made
Lost in translation.
But that does describe me pretty accurately right now. Thanks for having me on, everybody. For all the listeners out there, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And let's get that in right now.
What
a perfect guest
for us.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So we typically start off with like a easy softball question. How's post-grad been? How are you adjusting to it?
Yeah, post-grad, it's honestly, it's been tough, man. It's the real world kind of sucks, to be honest. It's like everybody hears about adulting when you're in college, and then it happens, and you're like, no one's ready for it. Like I got my car inspection done this morning, and that was the first one I've done ever because I lived without a car for a while. So that was terrible. Like sitting there for like an hour and a half at the car mechanic and like things like that you're just not ready for. Taxes, stuff like that. So it's post-grad's okay. Yeah. So yeah, I was talking to Ben and Alex a little before this too, but yeah, I graduated from the University of Texas a couple years ago, and then I moved up to Minneapolis to work at the Target corporation headquarters for a little while, and then after about a year and a half, I moved down here back to Austin because I missed Austin. I missed the kind of the grad, like undergrad life a little bit. So I'm back now.
Nice. What was your experience? Sorry, what was your experience like in Minneapolis? Since it's in the Midwest, which is probably very different from the South.
Yeah, the Midwest, totally different. So there are a lot of white people up there, and it's pretty common that people are like from there, and then kind of they might leave and work somewhere else for a little bit, but most people end up just kind of growing up there and staying there their whole lives. So it was a very common thing for like people to still be friends with their like middle school friends when I was working with them at Target. So it was kind of interesting. There's this thing up there called Minnesota Nice, which is it's kind of like I guess the best way to describe it is kind of like fake nice or kind of like surface level niceties. Just trying to like keep the status quo, not trying to like stir up any topics, and it's very kind of passive aggressive a little bit. It's very interesting. So it was really hard to adjust to for sure. And that's like actually a big thing up there. A lot of like groups for like minorities and stuff all talk about that because that's super big culturally up there. But yeah, all in all, I met a lot of good people. Minnesota is a great place, super coldest metropolitan city in the United States. So it's it was very interesting, but I'm glad to be back for sure.
More about the Minnesota Nice thing. How did you adjust to that? Because I know we have like a sort of similar thing like Southern hospitality.
Yeah. Yeah, Southern hospitality is better because it's I think people are like equally nice to everybody, I guess. So adjusting to Minnesota Nice or just like that culture up there in general, all right, I think the best way to describe it is this. All right. So you're like working, right? You're like working in an office, you have some friends, and you're like, you're cool, your work friends, you talk at work, right? Then you'll like maybe talk about your weekend plans. They'll be like, what are you doing this weekend? And I'll be like, oh, I'm doing whatever. I'm going hiking or whatever. They would say, oh, I'm having people over. We're doing a board game night, or we're hanging out. And then you're like, oh, maybe I'm expecting the invite or something, but it never comes. That's it. It just stops right there. It's like, yeah, I'm doing this with all my old friends. And that's it, That's exactly, I think that's like the best example, I would say. And that's kind of embodied in like everything. So it's just like not that warm like feeling. I feel like here, Southern hospitality, like I feel like I'd invite people over, like, if we weren't in COVID, I'd invite people over, like, if I didn't even know them that well. Or maybe, even if they're like kind of in like the group, or like, get good vibes, like sure, they'd be invited. But yeah, it's just it's not as warm, and then it's also weird because we're like Asians, right? Asian Americans in the South too, so it's like a mix of that also. All that together is just very different than that culture up there. So adjusting was hard. I don't think I fully adjusted, which is probably why I'm back here.
That's a good point. I remember reading on like Reddit or something how like, or online, like some people don't like Southern hospitality because to them it sounds really fake, and they're like, I prefer like honesty. So like they're like, I'm okay with like New Yorkers because to them they're just like super crass and like rude, but like, oh, it's like truly what they mean.
Right.
And I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't think I agree with that at all. Like I don't care if someone I don't know is like fake to me, or like, cause like I'm just like, I just want to go around my day, like if you're just polite to me, like I'm never gonna see you again. Like why be an asshole to me? And like in those like short 5 minutes, I'm like, y'all people on Reddit are tripping. Like I have no idea where you're coming from.
Yeah. No, that's real. Up in like I visited Boston once, and it was a different ballgame over there.
Yeah, and honestly, like I was like thinking about it, and I was like Southern hospitality, because growing up I didn't even really know what that meant. Like I was just like oh, I don't think anyone's being overly nice to me. Then I realized it's like the little things, like asking how your day is, like being polite to you at the grocery store, and I just took that stuff for granted. And I'm just like, if you are against this, then like something's wrong with you. You must be overly sensitive. But yeah.
Totally.
I was also thinking about this just now, like the idea of like honesty. I feel like a lot of people like it in the concept, but then like when they're faced with it in reality, like for example, New Yorkers, they don't actually like it.
It's like the idea when someone says like I hate it when people are fake to me, like say it to my face, not behind my back. But when you say it to their face, it's like they're very hurt. Then it's like, you have to like you always end up having to like soften your words because like like they're gonna fight back, which is almost just like, I think like most people would like rather like not like hear it to their face, right? Like hearing it behind their back gives them a justified excuse to be angry because they're just like, this person is in the wrong, and like
I think
I'm in the right.
People always want to hear like information that in a way that like is favorable to them, right? I guess if it's like constructive and it's to their face, they're probably down to hear it. But no one wants to hear that you like suck as a person, like straight to your face, like that's just, even if it's honest or whatever. But yeah, so and shout out to the Minnesota peeps. I love all you up there. Love being there. It was a good time. But that's kind of the vibe I felt, and it was I think it's like if you talk behind people's backs, like that's more so what it's like in like Southern hospitality or like Minnesota nice versus New York. Like you'll be told that you're like kind of a crappy person or something.
Yeah. What were some of the stereotypes you had of the Midwest before you came to the South that were like disproven? And then like, what were some stereotypes that people in the Midwest had of the South that you like kind of had to disprove?
Ooh, man. See that. Oh, you should have prepped for that one because I feel like there are a lot, but I can't. It's gonna be tough to remember them directly on. Okay, so a big one is saying y'all up there. That's a dead giveaway. Like here it's very common. Like it still stands out a little if you like say it a lot, or if you're in a group of people who don't say it. But up there, like if you, it's basically like saying like a foreign word up there. Like that is very that is a dead giveaway that like people are from Texas or from the South in general. It's just saying y'all. Yeah, people would always like jokingly, and I didn't mind this at all, but people would always kind of like joke about saying y'all and stuff up there if they were from Minnesota and stuff. But y'all is the future, man. I'm just saying for all the listeners out there, you know, people say you guys, people say you all, people say you people. Like y'all is just the easiest. I'm saying it now. Like 5-10 years from now, everybody's gonna be saying y'all.
I agree.
Hopefully right here, okay. Yeah, put it in the comments if you agree. But yeah, that's one. Southern hospitality is one too, like saying like bless his heart, or like you know, holding the door for people. I guess that some of that stuff exists up there too, but yeah, some like that Southern drawl in the voice and stuff, which I don't think that we have a lot, but some people who I worked with from down here who moved up there, you know, they do have that. And a lot of it's also like here there are a lot of minorities, right? Like minority majority city in Houston at least, and like some other places in Texas. And I worked with like a lot of Latino people and a lot of Asian people, and it was just we were the few, but everybody who was a minority seemed to be like from Texas or from like another state in general, like East Coast, West Coast, or Texas, or Florida or something. And then it was like us, and then there was them, you know. So yeah, but other stereotypes, I mean, yeah, I can't. I mean, there are a ton, but I can't. If I think of them, I'll bring them up.
Sure. Yeah, I know there's a lot of like refugees that like settle in Minnesota, like the Hmong people, or like
biggest Hmong.
I remember,
yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah. And there's also like this. I remember like randomly finding this biz. Like, there's a lot of Norwegian, Korean adopted by Norwegians or something like that.
Yeah. Yes, spot on. Which is like the Hmong culture, that Korean adopted. I didn't know Norwegians, but specifically about like white people in general, like that's big there. Then the third is the Somali population, like Somali refugees, biggest Somali population outside of their home country. And it's just so weird that it like happened in Minnesota. And I like, if you go to the museum, it's basically like, yeah, some like kind of group moved here like together, and then other people just started saying, oh, your family member's over there, so why don't you go over there too? Or like because they needed a place, so it's like, well, if we're going to go somewhere in the U.S., might as well go where there's family. So, and then now it's huge. There, you know, tens of thousands of each of those cultures. So,
yeah, for sure. I was like pretty surprised when I like heard about that, because I guess I just wasn't really educated on the topic, so it wasn't something I was really expecting. Like here in Dallas, like I honestly don't really know of too many refugees. Like I know there's like a significant VIA population in Houston, so I guess there are like some refugees in like Texas, but other than that, I was like, yeah, I don't think I've ever really. Well, I guess I've seen like a refugee camp. It wasn't like very big before in Dallas.
Yeah.
How do you feel about sort of like the idea that America is like called a melting pot? Because like, as you just said, there's so many diverse groups, and just like, and when you further subcategorize them, they get even more diverse and more sort of like deep. It's like, how do you feel about like that sort of concept?
You know, I'd almost question, is it like, all right, controversial take here. It is a melting pot, right? Like we're all living in the same country and stuff, but is it really a melting pot? You know, like how many, like, I guess like Somali people do I know? Like maybe one, you know, like how many, I guess like, I don't know, even like Native Americans, or like I'm only like privy to like the people who I'm around, right? So like I happen to know a lot of Asian people. I happen to know like probably next is like Latino people is like the next biggest group, and then like white people. And then just like nature of the circumstances, like I don't have a ton of Black friends because of, I think just like where like geographically I was like grew up and stuff. So it's like I question like how much of a melting pot it is, you know, because like I don't know, like how many of those refugees do we actually know, or like even come in contact with? I don't know. Maybe it's different for you guys. Yeah.
No, I think I agree. Like I definitely grew up in more of like a bubble within the bubble within the bubble. Um, I grew up within like a Christian, specifically Asian community in an upper like middle class environment. So I think the diversity like I was gonna receive is would be very limited. Like I won't deny that Plato and Frisco are diverse, but it's still very much like you kind of stick to your tribe, you know, and
Right.
within that tribe you stick to I won't say caste or class, but you stick to like people who are similar to you within that tribe, right? Like I was still hanging out with mostly like Chinese Americans or middle class Chinese Americans with some Viet people because there weren't that many Viet people in the area I grew up in, and the
Yeah.
Koreans all hung out by themselves. And this is just within the Asians,
Both sides,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, that alone, many would say, and I'd probably agree that that's very melting pot already. Like there's probably not many other places in the world that happens.
that's true.
But yeah, what about you, Ben?
I'm in exactly the same situation as Alex, minus the Christian bit. Like it's pretty much the same thing because like I think there's this sort of idea that you what do you call what is it? It's like you're drawn to someone who's like similar to you.
Mhm.
And so I feel like just naturally, like when you're young, you see someone who has like a similar face, a similar skin tone, similar like attributes as you, and then you're just drawn to them. Like now, like even as a kid, I knew like my friends were mostly Asian, not because like my parents forced me to, but that's just what I was drawn to from like what I saw.
It's like it's just the comfortability. I think it's
Yeah.
like familiarity also. Yeah. Huh.
Would you want to describe this more as a mosaic versus a melting pot? I know that term is used to describe diversity in Canada.
Oh, interesting. I've never heard that. That's a
What would be
great.
the difference between the two?
I mean, if you think about like a mosaic, it's like a ton of tiny pieces that come together to form like an overall fabric or like a picture of like something. And I think they usually say mosaic because like instead of a melting pot forming like one color or like one unique color through the various like subgroups, it's like a mosaic and that like they still retain their unique identity, but it's all joined together as like one like picture or movement.
Mm.
I think I'd probably agree with that. The mosaic. I mean, it's just like where do the. I mean, it's less so nowadays, but like even if I'd say like a couple decades ago, like like certain cultures would all live together in certain areas because it's just it's just easier. Like there's Chinatowns, wherever you're at, and it's in the Chinatowns it's easier to live because if you don't know the language, like there are people who can help you, and the signs are maybe in like Korean or Chinese or Vietnamese or whatever. So yeah, I definitely say it's mosaic more so.
Mm. Do you wish it was more of a melting pot, or do you kind of like appreciate the mosaic aspect there is right now? I mean, obviously, like race relations, could improve as seen with
Yeah.
what's going on right now in the world. But yeah,
I'm a big like supporter of just like diversity of thought. So I think back in college too, I tried to like meet a ton of people who are kind of outside the like bubble who I would normally interact with, and I think I did fairly well. And yeah, I think the diversity of thought brings a lot of value to like people's perspective. So I would actually be a big fan of more of a melting pot, more so than mosaic.
sir. What about you, Ben?
I mean, I like the idea of both, right? Because I'm a really big fan of like unique things, right? So the melting pot produces its own unique flavor. And I really do like that because, as Mitchell said earlier, there's not many places in the world where you can sort of like even begin to get this, right? Not even a mosaic to begin with. Like I remember I brought this up before, but like I was watching the show and they're basically talking about like how you can be like blank American, but then the show was like they moved to France to like follow some like kidnapper dude. And then they're saying like, oh, he was in the slums, but he like got a PhD. Why is he still in the slums? And they're like, that's because when you're French, you're just French. You're not like Asian French. You're either French or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that says volumes to like how much like how much you can have in America or the US specifically, more so than other countries.
Yeah, for me, I'm like kind of torn because like, yeah, I feel like our country is really divided. So like, it would be nice if like, we united and like had something to be like, I'm an American. But at the same time, it's like, I think I'm really proud of like my heritage, and like I don't really want to give that up because like honestly, for a longest time, I was like, to me, like being an American was like being white, and then nothing against white people, but I was just like, I enjoy being Asian, so I was like, I don't want to give that up. But,
Me too.
yeah, I guess honestly, I feel like part of me is like I feel like I'm a lost cause in this regard. Like maybe my kids will be more open minded towards it. I remember watching a video about kind of like immigration, or it's about Japan's immigration specifically, or the lack thereof, and how it's affecting the economy. And basically, it's just like if you're in a capitalist society, you actually want undocumented immigrants because you can treat them like shit. So basically, you can make them do all the low paying jobs. They're gonna not have that much benefits, and that's really good for like factory owners and shit because they can abuse the shit out of them.
Oh,
Obviously, very
that's so cool.
immoral, very immoral. But, great for profit. Not surprising considering it's capitalism. So, so basically, it's funny because I mean, most conservatives, if you're fiscally conservative, at least, like that's what you want. But your voter base, most people honestly don't really care about economic policies that much. They're mostly on the social side. So you kind of have to build like a rhetoric, but like, oh yeah, we need to kick out these immigrants, right? So like Obama, like he was like, I guess on the outside, he was like, I'm very pro immigration. But like, he actually like started a lot of like the ICE camps that we see now today that have only grown like have only grown under like Donald Trump. So, and then like, I'm not gonna say I know what Donald Trump thinks or what, but technically, he's supposed to, he's like building up a rhetoric about the wall. He's supposed to be like, okay, under the table, we're like, we'll let them come, so then like we can abuse them. And then basically Japan like doesn't really do this because like they have a super xenophobic culture. But it's like they have a population problem, right? Like it's like aging very quickly. And they also the only reason why America, despite being a developed country, is not having that problem is because immigrants come. So even though like the base like white population or whatever is not having that much children, like we can get away with it because we have immigrants who are producing a lot of children. And then in Japan, they don't have that problem. It's affecting the economy. So they're like, oh, we need to kind of think about like, we need to actually consider immigration, which was laughable to them like a couple years ago. And basically the video was kind of talking about like, yeah, like, because the biggest fear about immigrants is like, will they assimilate or not? Will they, be a true like nationality or whatever? And then like the video was kind of saying like, actually studies have shown that like if you want immigrants to assimilate, you have to welcome them and like be kind of like nice to them, and then they will, I guess like little by little, the ones you let in, like they will like kind of assimilate to your culture. And it's kind of funny because like I guess I was realizing that like the rhetoric, when you have very like anti-immigrant rhetoric, like violence towards them, like they're not going to assimilate at all, right? They're like, we need to stick together and then preserve our culture. Like that's literally why like Chinatowns exist right now, because like no, like they weren't allowed to buy houses, so like they had to stick together, and be like, we're Chinese like first, not American. Like this will never happen. So I was like, interesting.
Would you say that America wants immigrants to assimilate the same way that sounds like Japan does?
I don't know. That's a hard question because like it kind of sounds like some Americans don't want immigrants at all.
Right.
I think like they probably do. I think the thing to them is that for a lot of people, like to be an American is to be white,
Right.
and like they're barely coming to terms that Black people are American, but that's honestly just because like they've been enslaved, like taken from their country. They don't even know where they're from. So like I feel like I can't even like credit a lot of people for like accepting that African Americans are Americans because like they themselves don't even like know where they're from, which is like super messed up and unfortunate. But yeah, I guess like honestly I feel like they're kind of, people are stuck between like, I want no immigration to like, they need to act like how I act, which will percentage wise probably be, you know, a traditional like white person. That honestly, like, I feel like even for like white people in America, like, I feel like they've been like, they don't really even know necessarily like where like they're from either, right? Like they've been in America so long. I'm like, unless if you're like an immigrant from like Europe, like recently, like you're not gonna know like what your bloodline is necessarily.
Yeah. And that brings us into our sponsor for today. It's 23andMe. You can use our
Take a
promo
swab.
code.
You're listening to 23andMe.
Not a sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting thoughts, though. Yeah, I don't want to comment too much. Just to not give away my political ignorance. I haven't been staying super close to a lot of history and political events in general lately. But yeah, love thoughts.
On a like related note in heritage, do you know your mother tongue?
Me?
Both of you.
I know what it is. But no, I don't know. I'm 100% Vietnamese, and I don't know Vietnamese.
My mother tongue is English. Just kidding.
Yeah, come on, Ben, dude. I'm Vietnamese American, man.
Yeah, we just had a discussion, and you're just gonna forget that.
Man.
But anyway, I understand Cantonese because my parents are like from Hong Kong, but I can't really speak it. Honestly, I can't even like understand the deep stuff. I only understand like really basic, like Canto phrases or whatever my mom is telling me to do or not to do. Yeah. How about you?
What about you, Ben?
I can like communicate in Thai and I understand it fluently. Like the other day, I was talking about this with someone. Someone like was like showing me this K-pop video, and then like I knew it because one of the girls was Thai, and that was the reason why I knew them at all. Is because like I like see these like Thai people, and then like I go and like sometimes I see their videos and they're like speaking in Thai, and I was just like translating it to my friend, and I was like, they're like, wow, you can actually understand this. And I was like, yeah.
Wait, they're a K-pop group, but they have parts that were in Thai?
No, they have like members that are from Thailand.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I noticed that K-pop is becoming a lot more globalized, right? Or they're like, they have not everyone is necessarily Korean. Like obviously, you know, the most famous example is probably like Suyu from like Twice. She's Taiwanese. But I feel like there's been a lot more like, you know, there's some Japanese members in Twice. There's some like Chinese members in other groups. And like, yeah, there's like a Thai member that you mentioned. So it's interesting seeing how you get members from all across the spectrum. I don't really know the details because I don't listen to that much K-pop. I only really know like the super mainstream ones. Yeah.
Okay, how would you guys feel if there's a white American who studied Korean and got into a K-pop group over in Korea?
They actually tried that. I was like, I followed it because I was like, thought it was very interesting. Yeah. And as you can tell, Asian culture is very xenophobic.
Right.
So that didn't go
fly.
That didn't fly. It's kind of weird because like, not to get too controversial, I won't get too into it, but I think because like I don't think Asians say this themselves, but like, you know, in America when like academics study Asian cultures, they're like, or maybe specifically Asian Americans, they're always like, oh, I feel like there's like Asian people like worship white people and like how like they depict themselves, how they like value like the skin tone. But it's kind of funny because like if you ask an Asian person straight up, they're gonna be like Asian only. So I'm like, it's a nice, I don't know, cognitive dissonance or like contradiction that kind of goes around.
To further add on to that contradiction, like especially in places like Korea, Japan, and China, the beauty standard is fair skin, big eyes, like things that are very like sort of reminiscent of like American people.
Right. Yeah. But what was that the standard like 200 years ago?
I think so.
I think the standard in general is like you want to be petite, you want to be like you want to like look small in many things. Like for example, have you ever heard of like the foot wrapping stuff that they did in China back then?
The binding?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'm curious if it's like, was that brought over by like Westerners, or is that like just what it's been there for thousands of years, you know?
Yeah, I think fair skin has always been
Fair
a value.
sure.
Like I've definitely seen like
art.
I've definitely seen like ancient Japanese like paintings or whatever, and they're like super fair skinned. I think what's changed though is that like back then you see paintings like obviously they depict eyes like Asian eyes, you know.
Right, they're very like not large eyes, and like, and other things like that.
Mm-hmm. But then I think some people like I took an anime class this semester, like and then I think one of the things I think they pointed out was like kind of like anime is like very you know, like the characters themselves, like you can't really pinpoint their origin, right? Like obviously if you know the anime style, you know it's from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
But like I forgot, I think it's called Mukoseki, but it's like there is no origin, right? Like if you look at this person, like an anime character, like they have like some European influence, they have some Asian influence, but like I think that's like what people are saying like has changed, and that like the features are like kind of more westernized. But yeah, I do think pale skin has always been valued in Asian culture, or East Asian culture specifically. I don't want to speak for Southeast Asians.
What about like in Malaysia, or like I don't know, Cambodia or something? Like people are generally more dark skinned, and like I would even say that that people's eyes are like on average probably a little larger than like East Asian too. So I don't know what the beauty standard is like down there though.
I can say from being experienced in Thailand though, like native Thai people are very, very dark skinned, like similar to like Laos, Cambodia, all of those countries. But like the real thing is there's the reason why there's a lot of Thai people with like fair skin like me is because there's like a while back, there's like people that immigrated from China to like various other Asian countries. And so that's where the fair skin sort of like of those areas come from. Like, for example, there are fair skin like Cambodian people, fair skin like Laos people, stuff like that. And they all originate from China. And what's even more interesting is like, for example, in Thailand, all the models have like fair skin and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So do you think they probably like their ancestors were from China?
Yeah, so like for example, all the Thai people in K-pop groups that I know are all fair skinned.
Oh, they're fair skinned.
Yeah, are there any like tan or dark skin like K-pop idols that y'all know? Like now I think about all of them are like super pale.
They're all very pale.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not super into the culture there on the K-pop side of things, but yeah, I've never seen, at least in the mainstream one.
Yeah, like I'm the same boy as you, Mitchell. Like I don't follow, like I only know like the super big ones because like that's what everyone like puts on Facebook or like retweets or whatever. But all the ones I've seen are like I remember like I think one from like Red Velvet, like Irene, like she's whiter than some white people, you know.
Right. Just pale, pale probably.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the lighting here. I'm kind of dark, so I guess I'm pretty much never going to be in a K-pop group.
Dude,
I'll need some makeup or something.
Yeah, also that's another interesting thing. Like males like use the same amount of makeup, if not more, than females.
Yeah, and it's totally normal and like mainstream, which is, I think, great for people to express themselves however they want. Although over there, it's probably a little bit of like getting lighter too, and like. But I think there should be no reason that like a male performer shouldn't be able to like exaggerate their features and like cover up imperfections and stuff like that during a performance and stuff, or in real life over there. You know.
I just think it's very interesting because it's normalized in culture there. Like everyday Korean people, like male and female, use makeup, and I just thought that was super interesting because like here, if a male wears makeup, you're presumed like something. There's like a tag, you know, attached to you somehow.
Although it's growing a ton for sure here, like very, it's like localized for sure with like young males who are like probably in like high school right now, maybe a little older, but it's I was listening to some other podcast too. it was like the jock nowadays, or like the like popular male identifying student in like high schools is very different than like it was 30 years ago. Like when I guess like when other people were in school 30 years ago, it's like the big burly football player is like very popular, and like it's the jock, right? But like now it's shifting very much so to be like that kind of like like street wearing, like maybe even makeup wearing, but like very trendy, like with the times, kind of like guy with like really great hair, really great every style and everything else. So yeah.
So you're telling me the Chads are no longer alpha?
Yeah, well, it's shifting. It's shifting. I don't know if there's a name for the new group, but yeah, no longer.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think like from what I've seen, a lot of like popular kids or like high school guys, like they're very focused on like fashion and like caring about how they look. Like I think stereotypically, like guys would always be like I take 5 minutes to get ready. I just like I wash my face with a bar of soap. And now now the like men's like skincare routine is like a lot more popular. They have like subreddits dedicated to it. It's like pretty normal to use like moisturizer and toner and stuff. Like I don't even really know what I'm saying, but I know exists.
The fact that we just like are ill-informed on this is like a sign of the times, I guess. Okay, wait. Let me a side note. Do you guys use like shampoo, conditioner, and body wash, or like some combination of those three? Or
I use two of those.
You like probably shampoo and body wash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same.
So I think they're. Have you ever heard of like 3-in-1s?
Yeah.
All right. Then my thing about 3-in-1s is, all right, if you have 3-in-1, like something's lacking, right? Like you probably have like a crappy shampoo or a crappy body wash. There's no way it can be like doing the job on all three. And sometimes like they're even like a face wash too. It's like a shampoo and like a face wash also. So.
Wait, that's definitely not good, because I'm pretty sure like your scalp is like. I think your face is more like the skin on your face is more sensitive than like on your scalp, so you're not supposed to mix the two.
Yeah, totally. I'll use my bar soap to wash my face.
I totally know what you're talking about. Like I have a friend, he uses like 4-in-1 and just like
4-in-1, yes.
He's like it's cheaper, it's more efficient. Like you only need one thing, it's like less mess.
No.
It's cheaper for a reason.
Oh, funny.
Actually, have you seen those memes where it's kind of like some girl is complaining about like her like 14-step routine, but she still has like some acne, and she's like, my boyfriend who like uses a bar of soap, like perfect skin.
I've seen that meme. Because at the end of the day, like you can wash your face all you want. It'll help like a little, but if your genetics are like, if that's in your genetics, it's in your genetics, Yeah. So
some people are blessed and some people aren't.
Right.
The genetically gifted.
So yeah, do you think, because you know how there's like a recent movement in like the modeling industry to like, be more like body positive, so you see more, or I don't even know what it's called, but it's like you see more people who are like, not super skinny.
Yeah.
Like plus models, I think.
Look more like the people like buying the stuff.
Yeah.
That was up at Target when I worked. When I worked up there, and it's if you go look at like all the models in there, they're not like like I look at a lot of the male models who like are modeling the clothing. They're like kind of normal guys, a little, like they might be a little better looking, like like they have makeup probably a little bit, but more or less they're like normal dads and normal like dudes wearing clothes. And I think the same for a lot of female clothing. So it's very like they want to like, if you're a larger person buying clothing, you probably want to see a larger person, or if you're an older person, you probably want to see an older person too. So it's definitely shifting, which I think is great.
For sure. I remember like seeing like some plus models, and I'm like, honestly, they don't even look fat to me, like that's how skinny like traditional models are.
Right.
And it was like kind of wild, because I remember showing a friend that, and he was like, ew, she's fat, like unironically. And I was like, what do you mean? Like she's probably like skinnier than you are, you know? And then it's crazy how that double standard works. But yeah, do y'all think that like, you know, we'll see models with more like skin imperfections? Like, you know, you see like an acne scar, or they have, actually, I guess some models have freckles, but you know, maybe they're not super pale, or stuff like that.
I don't know. It's hard. I guess that the story has to be told right. If you're like if you're a skin wash company and you're showing that your person using it has a lot of acne, I mean, like it's probably a hard sell, you know. But if your story is like maybe genetically related or something, or like whatever, if you can just tell a good story, then I think it all works out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway, not a sponsor here, by the way, to those listening. But if you do want to sponsor Nuanced Nonsense, I'm not even part of this podcast. I'm just a guest, but
see, this is what happens when you bring on someone who's in the business, bro.
You gotta plug yourself. The rule, you gotta plug yourself every like 3 minutes or so.
He's like commercial break.
Yeah.
I remember seeing like a model on like, it was from Uniqlo. It popped up in my Instagram feed or Facebook feed or something, but they had like vitiligo, or it's like, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like you're losing pigmentation in your skin. And I remember just being like,
is it like the spotty sort of like?
Yeah. So like, I think it happens a lot in like people with like darker skin tones. But yeah, basically it looks kind of like blotchy, and yeah, I'm sure it's like, you know, very like it's a disease that a lot of people are insecure about. But I remember seeing that on like Uniqlo, and I was like, oh, that's like really cool that like they have like representation that way, you know. Like dude was still a good looking dude, but yeah, I was like, oh, I can definitely see like the importance of like representation, of like why people are like excited to see something like that, because like it definitely sends like a really positive message that like, hey, like, you know, someone that looks like me can be a model, like there's no limitations. I can understand like the pushback against some of it too, when they're kind of just like I know some people are kind of just like, oh, like I don't think like everyone should be a model or should be an actor or stuff like that. But I think once like you see it for yourself though, it's like you have a lot more empathy for that group, especially when you know that like the trials and tribulations they had to face.
I also think this is tangentially related, is like sort of like beauty standards in the US. It's like being skinny isn't like the best, or not considered the most desirable in the US anyway.
Right. I would say like probably anymore also, because it's like it was right before. But I don't know however many years ago, but it's like cyclical, right? Because I think like I don't know however many years before being really skinny was popular, it was probably a little bit more popular to like childbearing features and stuff like that, which would put the models at like a little bit bigger, or like the ideal like beauty standard. And then it got really skinny, and then now it's like thick is like like very popular, and then there's like skinny thick, and like everything. But whatever the kids are saying these days.
Skinny thick.
Isn't it slim thick?
Slim thick.
Maybe that. Yeah, this is that. Oh god, I'm showing my age.
Not like this.
But yeah, it's it's weird that like why does that change? I think it's basically just like it's what the people reflecting like what is happening in like actual society, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think fashion is pretty cyclical as well, or even like hairstyles. Like a lot of the hairstyles like that are popular now were like popular like 100 years ago, you know.
Yeah, there's only so much out there, right? So every idea is just a derivative, I guess. So.
Dang. How does that make y'all feel? Like there's no such thing as like true originality, because there's some people like that is like their shtick, you know. It's like I am a unique individual, but in reality you just copied someone from like 100 years ago.
I guess it's like what you consider original, you know, because like all right, here's what my example is, like Guinness Book of World Records, right? Because like that book is like, all right, fastest time to solve a Rubik's Cube. All right, great. Like we have a world record for that. It's like 3 seconds or whatever, right? It's like insanely fast. Then there's like fastest time to solve a Rubik's Cube while like balancing a plate on your head and eating a hot dog, you know, like is that original or is that just like adding a nuance just for the sake of like being original, I guess. And that's why I guess that's why I mean about the whole like if somebody is original, are they original? Everybody is technically like original and unique, right? But what they're doing, the idea behind it, like the core idea, might not be original. But anyway, that's just my tangent.
Oh yeah, it kind of reminds me of cherry pick stats. Like in sports, like it's infamous. Where like, it'll be like, this player is the first player to average, you know, at least 25.6 points, you know, 8.9 rebounds and 4.5 assists, and then it's just like, yeah, I think it's obvious. Like only 4 players who are like all Hall of Famers, and this guy has like achieved the status, and therefore this guy is like a good player as well. And it's just like it's like actually so dumb. The lengths they're willing to go to hype up this guy.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is tangentially related. But it's like, remember I was talking to Alex about James Harden, and something popped on my Instagram. It was like he scores like 60 plus points whenever he plays in like a place where it's like within like a certain mile radius of like a strip club. I was like, what is the point of this stat?
What? No, was that from like ESPN?
It wasn't from ESPN, but it was like from something
Somebody like found it. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Dude, imagine like that's your job. Like I get the like in statistics, like I guess, you know, things might be correlated somehow, but it's just like imagine just being like, I wonder, you know, if James Harden really plays better at strip clubs or when there's a strip club nearby, and then like you actually like go look it up. It's just like, how sad is your job?
Okay, the problem is that they're winning though, right? Like the people who want us to be interested in that, like they won because we are interested in it, either ironically or unironically. Like people who like don't realize that that's like a stupid stat are like, whoa, he really is a great player. And the people who do realize it's a stupid stat are like, wow, that stat's so stupid. I better go check out what else they have because it's going to be hilarious, you know? So either way, I think they won. The man has won here, and we've lost. So.
That's true. The sad thing about like clickbait is that like you know why they're doing it, but you still click on it anyway because you can't resist. You know.
Like, I need to know the 5 tips on weight loss. Like I just
yeah. I just want to know like what this doctor did that made all the doctors so mad.
yes, exactly. And there's some like image of like a weird fruit on there or something.
It's supposed to, you know, it's not subliminally implying anything related to a specific female, you know, organ or something, but you know, clicking anyway.
Oh my gosh. And they never like they're never fulfilling, you know? They're never
fulfilling.
No,
you know, the websites I hate the most are the ones that are like the fucking divided their article into like 10 billion slides, and then you just keep on clicking, and like they're writing like, you know, they're like in English, and like they're trying to drag it out to the word count. So they're like sometimes I don't even know why I click on it. It's just like guy dies, guy like is in a car crash, and is the doctor say he will never wake up, but you never know what happens next. And I know it's just something like stupid, like he probably wakes up or something. I still click on it anyway, you know? And they're just like fucking going to his backstory and his whole life and like how
it's like 26 pages.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. Just tell me, like, does he wake up or not? And in the end, it's just like, yeah, he died. And I'm just like, bro, this is fucking wasting my time.
Oh my God.
And I always fall for this. Like the sad part is like, I know I'm not strong enough to resist the temptation. I can't rise above this.
And they break it onto several pages because you know, like the more clicks you get on the page or like the views on the page, right? You just get more views and traction and everything, right? If you can like get people to keep clicking on the page and stuff, and like spend time on the page too, which is like, yeah, but it just works so well. I guess that's the reason there's a word for it, the clickbait, you know?
Yeah, and like they put so many ads, and it's like fucking terrible because these ads just like keep on popping up, and then like you're about to press like the next slide, and like then the ad pops up, and then you're just checking up with this ad, and then all of a sudden you have like 5 viruses, dude.
Yeah. Oh my
God. I'm actually triggered by this. And yeah,
Man, someone needs to solve that. It's almost like you have an ad blocker app or something.
wow, sounds very useful. Dude, I wish there was an ad blocker on iPhones though.
Oh my.
That's the biggest, like, yeah, honestly, on my computer, like, I forgot what ads are, you know, because
Yeah.
I just have like uBlock Origin and stuff like that. But on my phone, unless you jailbreak your phone, like, you're gonna have to, you know, tolerate ads. Like, I remember one person, a friend sent me this YouTube video, and there's like a tutorial how to install like a VPN to kind of bypass the ads. Then the video was like, this doesn't work on the YouTube app. I'm like, this app is fucking useless then. Like, why else would you download this? You know, I mean, it works for like games and stuff, so I'm like, sure. But I was like seriously considering jailbreaking my phone after that, because I was just like, I hate these ads.
That's the cost of free content, free services. Yeah, it makes sense. I guess, like, you know, YouTube's free platform, so they gotta have the ads on there, you know.
Gotta make money somehow. It's just, I just can't get over the fact that it's like you watch one ad and it's like, oh, 2 of 2. I'm just like, bruh.
Dude,
Well,
the
the worst
worst
part is
is 2 of 2, and they're both like 15 or 20 seconds long.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't skip. Worst.
Or the worst part is like the video itself is 30 seconds long, but the ad is like a minute or something, and you're just like, bruh, I'm spending more time watching that. Like, honestly, I understand why there's advertising, but I just hate like intrusive ads, you know? Like, if it's just like a banner, even sounds like the ads are ugly too. Like, it just makes the website look like it's from like the 1990s, you know?
Right.
Like, the ads are like kind of seamlessly in the website, and they're not like kind of like fucking popping up on you, or like, you know, like destroying your experience. Like, I feel like I'd be fine with just like having, you know, ads, or like just like a random sponsorship line that's like built into the website. Like, I totally support that. But yeah, other than that, I'm just like, why?
So why don't you you don't pay for YouTube? What is it? YouTube Red?
No.
Like non-ad thing?
Yeah, I do not.
So it's not that uncomfortable yet. So like, if
Well,
they
I
like
mean-
raise it to like 30-second ads minimum watch time, like
Maybe.
that might be.
I mean, honestly, my solution is I just watch YouTube on my computer, not my phone.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, if they did that, no more watching YouTube before going to sleep.
Too many ads, dude.
Yeah.
On a tangent, if you ever need to fall asleep, man, I used to put on like physics lectures. On YouTube, like some professor just cranking it out in front of a classroom on YouTube, like that puts me right to sleep.
Dude, honestly, I don't think there's not that many times in my life where something's been so boring, like I fell asleep. Like, I think I've only really fallen asleep in like one movie, and it was supposed to be a good movie. It was like Skyfall or something. Other than that, like, I don't know. I feel like the only ways I can really fall asleep quickly is if I exhaust myself. So the past 2 school years, I've been sleeping at really degenerate times, like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. But other than that, like, I remember trying to go to sleep at like 2, like recently, and I was like, I'm having trouble falling asleep. My body has completely adjusted to sleeping at 4 or 5.
Oh boy, jeez, aren't you starting work soon? You're gonna have a rude awakening.
I have 2 months at the time of this recording.
Oh,
I was trying to fix my sleeping schedule because I thought I was starting in like July 13th.
Do that. You should
But
definitely
then
do that.
my recruiter told me it was like late August, like August 24th, and then I totally just dropped the ball. I was like, I have to celebrate by not sleeping.
I didn't fix it, and I was going to sleep like not super degenerate, like no 4 a.m. That's pretty impressive. But before I started work, I was sleeping at like 1 or 2 or something. I started like for 6 months at my job. I was like falling asleep in meetings, which was not a good look. I was like dozing off, and it was bad. It was bad for a while.
Yeah, even at my internship last summer, I think I would sleep at like 1 or 2, which was not good. But I know I need to fix my sleep schedule. I'll probably end up. I'm such a night owl that the best I can do is probably like 12 or 11 if I really push myself. But
yeah, like, here, let me tell you. So during the school year, me and Alex would like always push each other to have these like dog shit sleep schedules. Like, I just remember it was like Alex has like early morning classes sometimes, and so on those days He's like, it doesn't even fucking matter. He's like, okay, if it's sleep 5 a.m., it doesn't matter. Every single day is the same. And then he like wakes up after like a couple hours to go to this class, and he comes back and just naps the whole day away. And that's just like, this cyclically just keeps on continuing.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, like
that's bad.
Like honestly, I didn't even sleep anymore. I was just basically taking naps. I was doing that Spanish system like siestas or whatever.
Yeah.
But honestly, it makes the day feel like it's really short because like I feel like once you're at midnight, like I feel like subconsciously you're not supposed to be up and you're just pushing the limits of like your consciousness. And then so honestly during the school year, like I basically never had afternoons because I was sleeping. Like 4 or 5 hour naps were not uncommon, or at least minimum of 3.
Yeah. Oh man. Jeez.
Unless it was the weekend, then I could wake up at 1. Yeah, sorry, say what you're saying.
I was saying, I remember those days.
Yeah, maybe this time next year, you might be like, yeah, I might be like, yeah, I sleep at 11 every day. I'm a changed man.
That's
we'll see.
I usually sleep. I'm a big fan of sleep. If stuff has to get done, it's got to get done. But I like a good 8 hours.
No, I mean I like sleeping too. I just like sleeping at a certain time. Yeah. Like I still get my 8 to 10 hours of sleep. But that's why we try not to schedule things before 12 or 1.
Just for the record, tell the viewers we're recording this we started recording at 11 a.m. Central Time, so we are on the schedule for.
I had to push myself real hard for this podcast to happen.
Alex told me, he's like, bro, you have to call me. Like, there's no way.
Like I woke up at like 10:30, but then I still lied in bed for like 15 minutes, and then right as I got up, Ben called me, and I was like, yeah, I need to take a shower. And then even when I was taking a shower, I was still kind of in the daze. So then I was like, I have to do this. I have to put myself in this water.
Yeah, you gotta put yourself plus ultra.
Yeah. And we started at 11 prompt, so it was all good.
Yeah.
But, dude, sometimes the hardest changes require the strongest wills.
Okay, so
paraphrasing that badly.
Here, let's hear this about. So, have you ever heard of like hard resetting your sleep schedule?
Yeah, I think so.
So it's like a one-day endeavor, right? Like you just stay up all day and you just go back to sleep at like a normal time. However, someone told me about this soft reset. I was like, okay, this just already sounds troll. So the idea is that you continuously push when you sleep by 1 hour. So let's say Alex went to sleep
24 days.
Yeah, so it takes 24 days. Well, like 20 days first.
20 days,
push it back 4 hours.
Move it by 4 hours.
So let's say you, like Alex went to sleep at 4 a.m. last night. And the next day, he's going to sleep at 5 a.m. And the subsequent days, 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. So there will be like,
that's ridiculous.
There will be like 10 to like 15 days where you're like completely like 12 hours offset from the rest of the population.
That's not gonna.
The same idea of like the it's like, oh, you want to be able to do 100 push-ups in one sitting. Just do 1 push-up today, 2 push-ups tomorrow, 3 push-ups the day after, and just keep building. But it obviously doesn't happen because I'm not gonna be able to do 100 push-ups in 3 months. Although maybe actually, now that I'm saying it out loud, it might be possible.
Yeah, it's not possible. I just feel like you can't do that when like you're working, unless like you're doing some overtime or some weird meeting shift.
Yeah. You schedule graveyard shifts for those like handful of days.
Yeah. Actually, I wonder what people with night shifts do, right? Because their sleep schedules by like they're being paid to be messed up, So
I have some friends that like sleep at like very degenerate times, and they bought blackout curtains.
Oh, okay, I see. Dude, honestly, Ben knows, but like my room in the apartment, like it has a very small window. Like I think the bare minimum to qualify as a window, and it faces a wall because like we live in a garage complex or whatever. So then like the floor I'm on like is not facing the outside; it's facing the inside. So I basically don't have a window. So I'm sure that probably has like fed into like my degenerate sleeping schedule, and that like I can wake up by like 12 and it's still fairly dark. Like I think my eyes have gotten used to my surroundings, so I can kind of tell if it's like day or night. It is still fairly dark, so I'm just like my body is conditioned to sleep.
Yeah. Circadian rhythm's powerful, man.
Yeah, so that's what my friend was telling me about for the soft reset, is that it plays into circadian rhythm. Because like the human circadian rhythm runs on, I think, around like 23 hours and a handful of minutes. So it naturally gets out of sync.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
Is it that exact though?
It's like, it's less than 24 hours. So it will slowly move over time.
Yeah.
It's like
I think that our days, like our actual days, and I might be butchering this, but I think our actual days are less than 24 hours too, which is why we have things to correct it, like I think like leap year and stuff like that. Like stuff corrects it because like we get a little bit off, and then every once in a while.
Wait, aren't our days longer if we have a leap year?
I don't know exactly how it works.
Well, I think maybe it's because like since it's less than like 365 days exactly, it's like shortened. So then like you have to have an extra day of the year to like make up for it.
Oh,
I think maybe that's it.
I think either shorter or longer, it'd kind of be the same thing, right?
Honestly, I have no idea how like they came up with counters. Like that is some hard shit to do, you know, that everyone takes for granted.
Oh yeah.
Dude, are you kidding? Just use a lunar calendar. Just look up at the sky at night.
Yeah, I'm still using the sundial, actually.
Dude, he's a real traditionalist. Dude, Mao Zedong would have loved him, a true farmer.
Yeah. To start wrapping things up, because we've already eclipsed an hour.
We hit an hour. We didn't even talk about any of our prepared topics.
It's okay. Didn't matter anyway.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, to start wrapping things up, we'll end with like this question we typically ask everyone. What are your plans post-quarantine?
Plans post-quarantine. And just for the record, I was given this question, but I didn't prep for it. Nice. That's my bad. Post-quarantine, I mean, I think I'm, I think I'm really into investing at the moment. Real estate investing is like a big thing on my radar. So, I mean, post-quarantine, assuming there's like a vaccine and everything, I'd love to start really getting out there and doing a lot more with real estate. So,
like what type of real estate? Like houses or like buildings or just land?
Yeah, not commercial buildings and not land. So mostly houses and like multifamily properties and stuff. So, yeah. I actually bought a home, so I'll be
congrats.
Yeah, thank you. But more of that, more like visiting open houses, more like investor meetings and stuff like that, and just learning a lot more about that. So,
wait, why? What is it like buying a house? Like, it's just so foreign to like me or like Alex.
Yeah, it's a lot of paperwork, and it's a lot of like it's a totally new process. Like I went through it for the first time. The realtor helped a lot. I mean, the process is very much like you get to choose a lot of what happens. So it's just like my word of wisdom would be very careful with like what you're looking for and like what you're going after, because you can easily bump up the bill like 50 grand or something, you know, which is not a small sum of money. So yeah, it's a big purchase. I would just make sure that, you know, study up if anybody's out there is interested. Yeah, definitely a foreign experience from anything else I've experienced. So,
seeing from your back wall, I see some interior design is in the
I'm still in an apartment right now. I'm not moving till July.
Yeah. Okay, so like, I mean, that isn't like, well, July is technically in 3 days. But
well, yeah, I'm moving like mid-July probably.
I see. So yeah, maybe like 2 weeks still. Still coming up kind of soon. Yeah.
So that's what I'll do post quarantine. Just kind of looking forward to meeting people in person again and stuff like that. So
nice. But yeah, wrapping things up. It's been an interesting podcast where we didn't, as Mitchell said, we didn't talk about any of the things we prepped about. Those are the best conversations. But, yeah, this is Nuanced Nonsense. We're not experts. We just like talking. Signing out.